This being my first ever long form video, do I really need an introduction to what swill will be dunking ourselves into today? It's not like Amelia Perez even needs an introduction, given how much people absolutely hate it. And I don't think it deserves an intro for that matter, actually. This is the one everyone's currently talking about, and not for the good reasons. No, this is the kind of movie that makes you question the very fabric of Hollywood itself. It's the kind of movie that makes you wonder if the directors were actively trying to offend every demographic on Earth, which, spoiler alert, they did. You can literally start off by searching this movie on any search engine you choose, and you will not find one person talking positively about this. Mexican people hate it, Latino people hate it, cinephiles hate it, nerdy theater kids hate it, conservatives hate it, liberals hate it, trans people hate it, queer people hate it. You can literally look at the faces of the actors and you can tell not even they were in the slightest bit interested in what they were doing. I actually wouldn't be surprised if the main goal of this movie was to unite everybody by giving everyone something to hate. So don't you just love it? Unity through hatred. You want me to say that it is very funny and peculiar that I have never even heard about this movie before I found out how much people trashed on it. I saw no ads. I saw no billboard ads. I saw no information. I didn't even see it on the boards where they show up all the movies. So how did this movie manage to get itself known to the point where people can hate it is beyond me. But I decided not to watch this movie. Why? Because I respect my money. And I respect my sanity. Instead, I read the summary of the movie on Wikipedia because I value my time. The plot is something. A narco lord transitions into a woman, and that somehow redeems her from all the crimes she has committed. It's like they took an unreleased episode of South Park, removed all the humor, and then threw in a palette full of cultural insensitivity. Actually, I shouldn't be insulting South Park like that. Not even Trey or Matt would write something as dog water as this. Let's talk about the casting. Or should I say miscasting. The casting director once stated that there weren't any good Mexican actors to play the roles in the movies. I'm sorry, what? Because of course actors like Demian Bichir, Diego Boneta, Dana Paola, and Melissa Barrera don't exist, do they? Oh my goodness. And if you couldn't find any talented Mexican actors, you can still find many talented Spanish-speaking actors in Spain, in Cuba, in Chile, in the Philippines, even in the United States. But no, they went with whoever they casted. It's like they were actively trying to avoid hiring anyone who can understand the culture they were so actively trying to butcher. The Spanish in this movie is, how do I put it gently? How to say they fed Google Translate into a third-rate AI chatbot and call it a day gently. You can't? Fine. The pronunciation, the grammar, the dialogue, it's all a mess. And don't even get me started on Selena Gomez. Look, I get it. She's a no sabo kid. But Selena Quintanilla was also a no sabo kid, wasn't she? And yet she took the time and the resources to learn Spanish, to connect with her roots, and to connect with her heritage, and most importantly, to connect with her fans. Even at a time where there weren't many resources, the OG Selena Quintanilla, still found the resources to learn Spanish. We have more resources now. Selena Gomez has no excuses. And I'm reminded of that one scene in Wizards of Waverly Place, if anybody can still remember that show, where her character's mom says it, you can't just add ito to the ends of the words and call it Spanish. Well, apparently someone looked at it and took it as a challenge. If I can go off topic for some seconds, does anybody remember that old 60s movie, Animas Trujanos? That one that cast a Japanese actor in it. I'm not sure a lot of people do, but I certainly hope so. It's a really good movie. In the movie, this amazing Japanese actor named Toshiro Mifune, sorry if I butchered any names, I do not intend to butcher any names. Toshiro Mifune plays a Mexican character, and even though he didn't know a lick of Spanish, he somehow nailed both the pronunciation and the acting to the point where even I reconsider if he even was Japanese. Continuing. I refuse to put in any thought or opinion in the songs and the music that was used in this movie because that is a whole separate headache that I do not have enough ibuprofen to handle without. So sorry about that. This movie tries to be about trans representation, but not once has it actually used the word trans or transgender or transsexual. Not in English and not in Spanish either. And this isn't just a language barrier kind of thing. There are terms in Spanish for transgender and transsexual in the language. They just choose to use nonsensical or vague terms instead of just saying it as it is. And that rubbed on me the wrong way. Not in the NSFW good kind of way, in the rubbing my palms against hot burning asphalt on a Sunday kind of way. And don't get me started on the clinic scene. They used biologically passing transgender people both in the scene and in the background And it reinforces this harmful stereotype that you need to look trans enough in order to be considered trans, but you're not trans because you're not trans enough. You don't look trans enough. You don't pass enough. You don't pass well enough. That scene is the pivotal of many other scenes that displays the lack of empathy that creators have towards this issue. That and the fact that they couldn't even find a dialect coach. It's like they had this checklist of quotas to meet. Don't research Mexican culture, don't include Mexican actors, don't shoot the movie in Mexico, don't include anyone who knows a lick of Spanish, don't release the movie in Mexico. Wait, they actually didn't release the movie in Mexico. Who would want to face the backlash of misrepresenting an entire culture and country? But here's the thing, it isn't just a bad representation, it's offensive. It's a spit on the face to all the missing people and all the victims of the cartel. It's a spit to the face of the Madres Buscaderas who are risking their lives to still find the remains of the loved ones, of the victims. It's a slap to the face of Mexican culture, it's a slap to the face of trans people, and it's just an overall slap to the face of anyone with even a lick of common human decency. They want to represent your culture, but that doesn't necessarily mean they respect it. And it doesn't help that at one point, the director of this movie even stated that Spanish is, I quote, a language of modest countries, of developing countries, of the poor and migrants. And somehow this swill got over 13 Oscar nominations. 13! Let me put it into perspective. Titanic was nominated for 14 Oscars and won 11. Schindler's List was nominated for 12 and won 7. The Godfather got 11 and won 3. The Lord of the Rings Return of the King got 11 and won all of them, deservingly. And meanwhile, masterpieces like Society of the Snow and I'm Still Here, which are actually good movies made by the people they represent, weren't even nominated. It's like the Oscars are actively trying to reward the worst movie possible. And I wouldn't be surprised if they held Guillermo del Toro's family hostage just so he can praise the movie. Post-editing scene. Allow me to clarify something. I did a bit of Googling and it turns out his father was actually kidnapped by the narcos and he was forced to pay a ransom that James Cameron helped him to pay. Which is about $1 million to free him, and he fled Mexico for his own safety. So the fact that he was essentially forced to speak highly about a movie where a narcos transitions in that automatically deems her of all her faults is suddenly so much more sickening. Continuing. Why couldn't they have just nominated something like The Count of Monte Cristo, or All We Imagine Is Light, actually good French movies from France? Those two movies are movies I know French people are proud of, even if the world refuses to acknowledge it. For hell, what about Enora, or The Substance, or Nosferatu or something? Or hey, what about I Saw the TV Glow, an actually good trans allegory movie? How well it portrayed everything with regards to the transgender experience. The masterful portrayal of time feeling like it's slipping by our hands. And you can either continue to be the person you are and risk losing the person you were always meant to be, and the loud anguish of coming out and denial. And time, and it was made by an actual trans director, and it's loved by everyone in the trans community, but for obvious reasons, obviously, the movie never got the roses it so rightfully deserved. But you know what brings me hope? About some time later, a bunch of Mexican film students were so outraged by Emilia Perez that they made a parody movie called Johann Sacre Bleu. It is a 20-minute short film that you can find on YouTube that is completely funded through GoFundMe and was filmed within a week that mocks every French stereotype imaginable. Marie Antoinette, baguettes, mimes, you name it. It was filmed in Mexico, featured no French actors, and the French dialogue is so hilariously bad. Not bad, hilariously bad. You can actually laugh at it. And guess what? It has a perfect IMDb score, and the director is a trans woman who turned down offers to commercialize the movie. And that is how you make a statement. So to answer the question I posed in the title, who was Emilia Perez even made for? It wasn't made for Mexican people. It wasn't made for trans people. It wasn't made for us as an audience to enjoy, to learn something from it. It wasn't made for anyone who actually valued good storytelling or culture. It was made for the elites of Hollywood. It was made to assure them that this is in fact good representation, that this is what people want, that this represents trans people and Latino people, when it in fact doesn't. It just doesn't. It's not even worth my breath calling this the steaming pile of trash that it is, because now it just feels tiring to call it what it is. This was made to inflate the egos of the elite. It was made for them. It wasn't made for us, the audience, the peons of the world. It's a movie that I can at least give some courage. The fact that it unites everyone in hatred, because we can all agree just how bad this is. And honestly, that might be its one and only redeeming quality, that it united us all by hatred. So if you are in fact looking for something to watch, just skip Emilia Perez and spend 20 minutes on YouTube and watch Johann Sacreblo. At least that one knows it's a joke. All in all, this movie can practically be summarized in one sentence. It's like saying aloha to an Iraqi waitress at an Italian restaurant somewhere off the coast of Norway. Yeah, so that's about it. Peace.